I have to tell you what my vision is for this. You are 200 women here today that are part of a very special inaugural event because I intend to ignite a national conversation on women's health. This is only the first in a series of these events. We're going to come back next year in Pittsburgh in September. Put it on your calendars. We're saving the date now, and I want to have 2,000 women in the convention center, and we're going to be in Chicago and New York, and hopefully LA will visit Dr. Berman in California, because the message that we have today, that we are powerful in our own health, that we are already making the decisions, and that we need a conversation to bring it all together, is one that I'm just very passionate about bringing to this country. So today we're prioritizing our bodies, our brains, and ultimately our bliss, because in my second book, I write all about the fact that what we do with our bodies builds a better brain. And there's an entire body of literature that says that we can affect our happiness with mobility. So now I'm going to give you my ideas about how you begin to prioritize your body, brains, and bliss. So in business, and I'm not a businesswoman, I'm trying desperately to be, but I'm learning from you all the time. When you make a strategic plan for your business, there's usually a 4-step process. Now, I contend to you that whether you're in business or not, you probably plan everything in your lives, don't you? You plan your child's education, your family's education, the vacation, the career you want to have, what's happening to the children next door. But I know for a fact, as a physician that's been taking care of people for 28 years, that nobody plans their health very well. And what I want people is to adapt a really stepwise process in the way business does. So when you're planning your health, these are the 4 steps that in my consumer-aimed book I call 4 steps to body, brains, and bliss. Number 1, you need to create a vision. Number 2, to take action. Number 3, to adjust your attitude and recognize the role of the brain in your body. And finally, measure your achievements. So we're just going to go through this a little bit today. So number 1, let's create a vision. Next slide. What does it mean to create a vision? Well, and why do we do it, frankly? Eleanor Roosevelt, my favorite quote of all times, says something about live the life you envision. Well, I contend to you, if we have not taken time in the last 20 years to even notice ourselves because we're so busy, how can we know where we're going? And I love Andy Stanley's book, Visioneering. He talks about why we need to have a plan for our lives. This is very clear to you in business. Why do you need a plan? Because you're never going to get there without it. But in our healthcare, we need to create a vision for our healthcare. And what I mean by that is this. If we just do the Mediterranean diet one day, or we decide we're going to go and do Vonda's START program the next 12 weeks, or we do this other thing, we have a bunch of health bricks. But unless we have an idea of how we're going to put an entire vision together of what we want to be, they're going to remain bricks, and you're going to go off the Mediterranean diet. And you're going to drop out of my 12-week program. There's a 50% attrition rate, even when people pay money to me to show up. And that's true of all exercise programs. Unless you have a vision of what you want your health to be, why are you showing up? You're going to let it drop. It's the same in business. That we must create a vision of what we want to be like in our health, because it gives meaning to the otherwise meaningless details of our lives. Eating only a grapefruit diet with no vision of why you're doing it will never sustain you. So next slide, please. You need to understand why you want to be healthy. I want to be healthy because I have a little bitty baby to raise. I am now fortunate to have 5 stepchildren that I'd like to see their babies and raise them. And I want to be the best surgeon in this, orthopedic surgeon in this country, changing the way we age. But I cannot do that if I am not healthy. I have to invest every day in myself. And figuring out what you want for a vision is easy. There's a whole series of questions that I'm happy to send you after this conference. But you have to know yourself. What do you really want? Why is it important to you? When's the last time you took notice of yourself? What did you love? What did you hate? And the answer is not, I just hate this muffin top that I got after I had a child. It has to be more specific. I want to feel strong because I ran my first marathon not because I'm crazy, although I am a little crazy. If my residents were here, they would tell you. Actually, Nicole is here. She'll tell you. I ran my first marathon because I was about to enter a 7-year surgical residency, and I wanted to prove to myself that I had the physical stamina to make it through 40-hour days. I had a vision of why I wanted to do that. I invested every day in myself, and it's the same way for you. Why do you want it? And I'm going to show you. I was going to show you this later. We are not here today to talk to you about how to fit into this little black dress that you have not put on since you were 20. This is not why we're here. And Corey, my daughter, is here today, and she advised me never to try to put on this little black dress that I had on when I was 20. Our vision today is to prioritize our bodies so that we can get to the C-suite, so that we have the energy to do anything we want, not encumbered by the fatigue and the stress and the health problems that will come with it. So you need to create a vision. Next slide. Once you create a vision, who am I? What do I want? How long do I want that? We have to take action. A vision without action is just words. And so a lot of times I put this in the context of moving and eating. When I ask you to move and eat, sometimes I ask you to get up and do exercises in the audience, and I'm not going to do that today. And sometimes I give you my top 5 tips for cutting 500 calories out of your diet, because when it comes to losing weight, which is sometimes all of our goals, it's all about the numbers, my friends. But the nutritionists in the audience will get to that today. I'm not going to talk about moving and eating in those terms today, because remember, it's not about the little black dress. I want to give you a deeper message. Next slide. There are 2 new fields. They're not really new. We've known about them for a long time, but they're coming into play right now. One is nutrigenomics, and I've just coined a term, I've never seen it published, movement genomics. But what that means is that every decision you make, the 70% of the decisions you make that you control in your health, doesn't just affect whether we fit into this little black dress. When you decide to take my advice and do 100 jump ropes a day, do you know what you're doing? You are causing the genes in your osteoblasts, the cells that make your bones, to start transcribing the building blocks for healthier bones. Every decision you make is affecting your genes. It's not about the dress size, my friends. This is about taking control at a cellular level. Those of you who have heard me speak before know that I often show a slide of a little mouse treadmill. I am a researcher. I'm just not a health cheerleader up here. I have mice that are very, very old. In mouse years, that's 2 years old. An old mouse is 2 years. And I have treadmills. And we took little muscle stem cells from these mice, these very old granny mice. And what we saw is that they are very slow. They do not make growth factors. These poor old stem cells do not divide anymore. And they just travel down a road from nice, round, healthy, plump, grape-shaped cells into all spindly fiber cells. And they don't make anything after that. They just kind of die in culture. So we took these mice, put them on our treadmills. And mice are smart, just like we are, and they don't like to move any more than we do. And they scoot back to the end of the treadmills. And they sit there, just like we do, because they have something better to do, although really not. And we prod them to run. We run them for 2 weeks. And do you know what happens after 2 weeks when we take another little biopsy of their muscle stem cells? Their muscle stem cells have been affected at a genetic level by movement, by getting off the couch for 30 minutes a day. In 2 weeks, their stem cells produce growth factors. They stay round and plump in culture. They divide. They're acting like young stem cells again. So if you ask me, as the mobility doctor, what the fountain of youth is, It is mobility. It is the fidgeting you do every day. It's the getting up out of your desk or sitting on an exercise ball or the actual taking a walk or running a race. And we have some triathletes and ultramarathoners in the crowd, and if that's what you want to do, that's good for you. But I'm talking about movement at every level affects us genetically. It's not about the black dress. It's about controlling ourselves from the inside out. There's another amazing field called nutrigenomics, and it's about how our food changes us on a cellular level. So the struggle of getting to eat broccoli and whether or not to smother it with cheese and the calories that come with that is the very superficial way to talk about nutrition. Nutritionists are now talking about the way broccoli, I brought some on my own refrigerator because I think it'll drive the point home. Broccoli, at a genetic level, turns on antioxidant enzymes, which scavenge your body and clean up all the damage that's going on a cellular level. So eating broccoli may seem like a simple task that you have to force yourself to do, but the good news is it's not about the little black dress. You are changing at a cellular level what's going on inside you. We control 70% of our aging and our health process by the decisions we make today. So you decide to eat that broccoli not because you think you're going to fit into the black dress, but because you're changing yourself at a cellular level and predetermining your health. It's a very exciting position to be in. We are not destined to go from vibrancy and vitality to decrepit and aging unless we choose to. My vision for you is to live healthy and vital and active and joyful until we're not living anymore. And you control 70% of that through movement genomics and nutrigenomics. It's very exciting. So we've created a vision. What do you want to be? You can't live the life you envision until you know the life you envision. Number 2, we're moving, we're eating. One way I teach people to do this is via facing their future. And I will get to that in the last session today, really specific instructions on how I like people to do this. It's just one of many ways. Next slide. So, creating a vision, taking action, changing our attitude. What does that mean? Well, it's as simple as some of the things that we've talked today about prioritizing yourself, knowing that you're important. The 30 minutes you invest in yourself every day for the walk you take can decrease your chance of dying from breast cancer by 40%. It can decrease your chance of getting heart disease by 40, 50%. It decreases your chance of getting diabetes and stroke vastly. So it's 30 minutes that can change yourself, and you are worth that investment. And I'm sorry, bankers, but the rate of return on mobility is much higher than anything I'm getting in my savings account. So it's worth your time. But it's not only that attitude change. What do I need to do to reach my vision? There is a next slide. There is a huge body of literature now that says the more fit you are, the more resilient your brain becomes, and the better it functions both cognitively and psychologically. Basically, if you get your body in check, your brain is going to be in check too. It's interesting. There's a lot of literature that says when you challenge your brain in a complex way, you can actually grow new neurons. We were told when we were growing up that you get one brain, and when you waste it in college drinking alcohol, that's all you get. But the fact is, we know now that we are capable of regenerating brain, increasing growth factors in our head that stimulate new neurons. So it's a very exciting place to be. So just when you're thinking about, do I have the time or physical stamina to go out and move today, add on that bonus that you're actually building a better brain that's going to help you at work, that's going to get you where to go with the other goals. Finally, next slide, we know that movement, taking action, not only builds our body, builds a better brain, but the burn you get in the morning from your intense 30 minutes of exercise acts like a Prozac all day. 12 hours. There's actually large bodies of literature now that show that active people have decreased chances of late life dementia. And I've never heard anyone in my entire 28 years say, I want to experience dementia. No one's ever going to say that. And so if we can make decisions to prevent that, that is so exciting to me. So we create a vision. What do I want my life to be like that? We take action through movement and eating. We change our attitudes, whether they're basic attitudes we have or realizing that we can actually change our brains. And finally, we understand, next slide, that when we do those things, our state of health and the lifestyles and behavior levels that we encounter are only the tip of the iceberg. Sometimes our behaviors are much deeper than that. And if that's where we need to go to change our attitudes, what was it that I was taught as a child about myself that makes me behave today? And that's what's getting on the really deep level sometimes. And then finally, next slide, when we do those first 3 steps and we've started to take action for ourselves and we've started to change our attitudes, we need to measure our achievement. If we have done a positive thing in our lives, let's reward ourselves. Some people suggest every time we do mobility, let's put $1 in a mobility jar and then go get a manicure at the end of the month. Or I always say, I always do this, when I register for a race, if I actually show up and finish the race, I get a new pair of hot shoes, because that's kind of my clicker. But whatever works for you, we need to reevaluate every couple weeks our vision. Is it the same vision? How are we doing on it? And then reward ourselves. Because the reward is not only long-term, it's short-term. We're going to get to this at lunch. I'm kind of springing the bag here, but do you know why sometimes it's hard to connect with what you know we should be doing, all these things I've talked to you today, and what it means in the future? Is because there is a mental disconnect in time. We can't envision who we're going to be in 20 years. And so it's hard to be good to that person. It's hard to invest in that person when we have not met them yet and we can't even envision what they should be. And we're going to work on that today too. So create a vision, take action, change your attitudes, and measure your success. Next slide. Because something that's really interesting to me now, and it's going to be the topic of my next book, is this concept of resilience. What we do with our body, the physical fortitude that we achieve, doesn't stay here, but it goes here. And if I have this physical strength to make my mind work better, to make me able to withstand the stress that I have every day in the operating room, or you have every day in the boardrooms, or every day in your homes, if we are capable of bending without breaking, that is an exciting, well place to be. And so building resilience, I think, is another thing we're doing today. Next slide. So my 4 steps to body, brains, and bliss, as you go to your breakout sessions today and learn the nitty-gritty of women's health, are create a vision, take action, change your attitudes, and measure your achievement. Next slide. Because I want for you what Henry David Thoreau said in Walden, which is go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you envision. You deserve it. You have all the tools, and it's all about the decisions you make today. So thank you for coming. Thank you for investing in your health, and I know we're going to have an amazing transformational day. Thanks a lot.